You know, it's funny how some names just grab you. And for this deep dive, we're looking at something called Chicken Qabalah.
Yeah, Chicken Qabalah. It definitely makes you pause, doesn't it?
It really does. Apparently, the name itself comes from this kind of humorous letter the author wrote to someone in Jamaica.
Right, acknowledging it sounds a bit weird, but hinting there's real depth there.
Exactly. And there's this other little twist about merit spit kitchni in Hebrew, adding up to 93, which is a pretty big number in some circles.
And you can rearrange kitchni to spell chicken.
Which just adds another layer of, well, playful mystery to it all. Makes you wonder what we're getting into.
I think that playful start is part of the point, you know? It signals this isn't going to be some dry, overly serious academic thing. It's okay to smile while exploring big ideas.
Totally. So for this deep dive, you've pulled together some key excerpts to kind of give us the essence of this Chicken Qabalah.
That's the plan. Think of it as hitting the highlights, getting the core insights without getting too lost in the weeds.
Trying to understand this unique perspective on, let's face it, a pretty complex subject.
And a central figure, or maybe voice, in all this is Rabbi named Ben Clifford.
Right, Rabbi Ben Clifford. Whether he was a real person or, like, a pseudonym.
It almost doesn't matter, does it? It's the voice, the perspective that comes through. Someone taking these ancient, sometimes really abstract ideas and making them feel, well, almost approachable.
Grounded, yeah. Like a friendly nudge to think outside the box.
That's the spirit of it, really. Looking at things a bit sideways.
Okay, so let's dig in. Who are these Chicken Qabbalists? Is it some secret club?
Huh? Not according to this source, no. It's actually surprisingly broad. Rabbi Ben Clifford basically says it's for anyone involved in tarot, psychology, astrology.
Oh, wow, okay.
Ceremonial magic, Rosicrucianism, alchemy, mystic Freemasonry, even witchcraft. It's a wide net.
So you don't need a specific background. You don't have to be Jewish or anything.
Nope. The text is pretty explicit. You don't need to be born anything, believe anything, or belong to any religion, cult, order, or political party. The idea seems to be that the Kabbalistic principles themselves are powerful enough to sort of transcend those labels. It's about the insights, not the membership card.
That's really open. Okay, so here's a big one for many people. Hebrew pronunciation. It feels like this huge barrier, right?
Dude, definitely. People get really stressed about saying the words perfectly.
So what does the Chicken Qabalah say about that?
It offers what it calls a liberating secret, basically. Don't worry about it.
Seriously?
Yeah. It argues there's no single correct pronunciation anyway. Spoken Hebrew, as we know it, is relatively modern, and historically, pronunciations varied wildly. Nobody really knows how it sounded thousands of years ago.
So all that anxiety is kind of pointless?
Pretty much. The text says pronunciation has less than nothing to do with understanding the spiritual core of Kabbalah.
Less than nothing.
Right. And Rabbi Lund even jokes, never correct another Kabbalist's pronunciation and maybe even avoid talking to them altogether.
Okay, so focus on the concepts, not the phonetics. That's actually a huge relief.
It shifts the focus entirely.
All right, what about the Bible then? Do you need to buy into it literally?
Another clear no here. You don't need to believe in the Bible as literal history to engage with this stuff.
So how does it approach texts like Genesis or Ezekiel?
Well, the rabbi suggests they weren't written for, the average person on the street back then. He frames them as works by mystics, people with a deep understanding, using codes and symbols meant for other specialists, other full-time holy guys, as he puts it.
So like an insider language.
Exactly. And he suggests that taking them too literally, misunderstanding that coded language, has actually led to some harmful ideologies over the centuries. The goal is to decode the mystical principles, not read it like a history book.
That's a really different framework.
Okay, so building on that, let's talk about these 10 command rants. The name alone is something else.
It is, isn't it? They're presented as sort of punchy introductions to core Kabbalistic ideas, not rules, more like thought provokers.
Designed to shake things up.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So the first command rant, all is one. Okay, that sounds familiar. Unity, interconnectedness.
Right, the basic idea that everything's part of a single whole. But then, boom, the text immediately asks you to think about nothingness.
Uh-oh. Where does nothing fit into all is one?
Exactly. The rabbi points out that our minds just can't really grasp true, absolute nothingness. It's a conceptual hurdle.
Which leads straight into the second command rant.
Which is, the first command rant is a lie. All is nothing.
Whoa, okay. Total reversal.
Yeah. And this brings in a bit of a scientific angle. Astronomers say the universe is mostly empty space.
Right, even atoms are mostly empty.
Exactly. So the rabbi connects this physical emptiness to the Kabbalistic idea that the ultimate deity is so far beyond anything we can conceive, it's like a very special kind of nothing.
Because anything we can conceive is limited.
Precisely. If you can define it, it's not the infinite ultimate source. It's like trying to hold the entire ocean in a cup. It just doesn't fit.
So from everything is one to everything is fundamentally nothing. My head's spinning a little. What's the third command, Rand?
The third pushes it again. There really isn't a creation, time or space, heaven or earth, but there is a you.
Okay, so if ultimate reality is this nothing, then the world we see, time, space, it's all kind of illusory.
In the ultimate sense, yeah, that's the idea. It's
Yeah.
perceived reality, not fundamental reality.
But then that last bit, but there is a you. That feels important.
Hugely important. It stresses that while the external world might be illusory in this view, your individual self, your consciousness, is real.
Not just the body or the thoughts.
Right. It's described as a unique, sparkling image of the absolute, a distinct point of awareness, separate from the physical stuff, that actually has reality.
That's quite a thought. A real you within an illusory world.
It sets up a core tension, definitely.
All right, moving on. The excerpts talk about the Sefer Yetzirah. What is that, and how does Rabbi Ben Clifford approach it differently?
So the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formation, is a really foundational Kabbalistic text. Usually people start studying it from Genesis verse 1.
In the beginning.
Right. But Rabbi Ben Clifford jumps in at Genesis 1.3. Let there be light.
Why skip the first two verses?
His reasoning is that verse 1, in the beginning the Elohim created heaven and earth, doesn't actually explain how anything happened, it's just a statement.
Okay.
And then he dives into the word Elohim. He points out it's plural in Hebrew, and the root ilo is feminine singular.
So suggesting maybe gods and goddesses, or a dual-gendered deity.
Exactly. He even mentions how later in Genesis, Elohim refers to themselves using us. Let us make Adam in our image. It immediately challenges the standard singular male image of God.
That's a bold starting point. Okay, the text mentions 3 mother letters. What are those?
These are Aleph, Mem, and Shin. In the system, they correspond to the core elements. Aleph for air, Mem for water, and Shin for fire. The fundamental building blocks.
And then there are 7 double letters.
Right. Beth, Gimel, Deleth, Kaf, Pei, Resh, and Tau. They're called double because they traditionally have both a hard and soft pronunciation.
And symbolically.
They represent 7 pairs of opposites. Life and death, peace and war, wisdom and folly, and so on. Plus, they're linked to the 6 directions, up, down, east, west, north, south, with the 7th letter, Tau, being the center point, the here.
Got it. And the last group, the 12 simple letters.
These correspond to the 12 signs of the zodiac. They represent different modes of consciousness or archetypes.
And the text also links them to months and body parts.
Yeah, traditionally they are linked to the 12 months and specific organs, although the rabbi seems a bit dismissive of the organ connection in his typical style.
Ah, okay, so it's a whole system connecting letters, elements, directions, planets, zodiac signs.
Exactly, a symbolic web showing how everything is interconnected through these 22 fundamental letter energies.
Let's look at a few specific letters then, based on the excerpts. Aleph, the ox.
Aleph, value of 1, represents strength, stability, harnessed power, like the ox itself, foundational energy.
Okay. Gimel, the camel, or rope.
Gimel, value 3, it's all about connection, carrying things across distance, linking points. On the tree of life, it bridges the gap between the highest sphere, Kether, and the central one, Tifereth, right across the abyss.
That sounds important.
It is. And it's linked to the moon and the High Priestess Tarot card. There's also that interesting aside about a possible Aramaic pun Jesus might have used, where camel and rope sounded similar.
Okay, the window.
Hey, value 5, represents looking out, perception, breath, existence itself. It's how we interact with the world outside, connects wisdom, chokmah, to beauty, Tifereth, on the tree.
Vow, nail, or hook.
Value 6 symbolizes joining, linking, union. Like a nail holding things together, it's also the Hebrew word for and, often linked to uniting with the divine.
Teth, the serpent. That's always a loaded symbol.
Very much so. Teth, value 9, linked to primal energy, wisdom, transformation, think Kundalini energy. The text mentions its complex role in stories like Eve's, Moses' healing serpent, Jesus saying, be wise as serpents. It connects mercy, cheesed, and strength, Gebira, on the tree.
Lamed, the ox goad. Connecting back to Aleph.
Exactly. Lamed. value 30. It's the tool that guides the ox. Aleph represents teaching, discipline, directing that raw power. There's a neat wordplay. Al, Aleph lamed, reversed means God. La, lamed Aleph, means not suggesting lamed provides necessary control.
Mem water, one of the mother letters.
Right. Mem, value 40, represents water, fluids, the flow of lifeblood, semen, etc. A primary element. Corresponds to the hanged man in tarot surrender. New perspectives.
None the fish.
None. Value 50. Fish symbolize fertility, regeneration, the teeming life force, constant renewal.
Eye in the eye. Inner vision.
Both inner and outer vision, perception. In, value 70. Interestingly, it's also sometimes linked to the male generative organ outward expression.
Hey, the mouth.
Say, the power of speech, communication, what makes humans distinct. It's a double letter linked to Mars and the Tower card forceful expression, breaking down old structures.
Cough back of the head. That's unusual.
It is. Kof, value 100. Represents the primitive brain, instinct, things operating below consciousness. Linked to sleep, Pisces, and the moon card in tarot. Has some other weird associations too, like monkeys.
Resh, head or face. The opposite of Kof.
Pretty much. Resh, value 200, represents the conscious mind, leadership, quality, the face we present. Connects splendor to the foundation. Yes, Sod.
Tau mark or cross. The end of the alphabet.
Tau, value 400, signifies completion, the end, a signature. Also truth, along with Aleph and Mem. It's a double letter linked to Saturn, Earth, and the World card in tarot integration, completion.
And Shin the tooth. You mentioned this one was important.
Very. Shin, value 300. Often represents the Holy Spirit itself, divine fire or reverence. Its value connects to breath of God. And significantly, placing Shin into YHVH gives you YHVH Yeshua or Jesus.
Wow, that's a direct link. Okay, this overview of the letter shows how much meaning is embedded there. What about the ineffable name, YHVH?
Yehohevahe. Traditionally, it's held in such high reverence that people avoid saying it, substituting Adonai, Lord.
And only the high priest could say it.
Once a year, yes, during a specific ritual in the Holy of Holies involving the Ark of the Covenant. It underlines the immense power attributed to the name.
Speaking of the Ark, always a source of fascination. What's the rabbi's take?
Well, it's characteristically down to earth. He suggests ancient armies often carried symbols of their gods into battle.
Okay.
So the Ark, he proposes, basically held the magic goodies from the Exodus, Aaron's rod, manna, the tablets, symbols of divine power and provision.
Makes sense.
But then he adds a little speculation. Given its description, gold-covered wood box, specific dimensions, he wonders if it could have functioned like a primitive electrical battery.
Like those Baghdad batteries people talk about.
Sort of along those lines. A possible, more physical explanation for the stories of the Ark's power, the fiery deity associated with it. It's typical of his approach, look at the mystical, but also consider the practical or scientific angle.
Always keeping you guessing. Okay, let's shift to the four Kabbalistic worlds. This seems like a core concept.
Absolutely fundamental. It's a model for how the infinite, unified divine emanates outwards, becoming denser and more manifest, creating the reality we experience.
Like layers.
Exactly. Four main layers or worlds.
What are they? Let's start at the top.
Atziluth, the archetypal world. Linked to the letter Yod, fire, the tarot suit of wands, pure will, pure potential. Male and female divine aspects united in bliss. Where the first impulse, even the desire for limitation, begins. Soul aspect. Chaya, the life force.
Okay, next level down.
Braya, the creative world. Letter Heya, water, suit of cups, realm of archangels, general concepts, inspiration. Think of like Edison getting the initial idea for the light bulb that flash comes from Braya. Soul aspect. Neshama, soul intuition.
And the third.
Yetzirah, the formative world. Letter Vow, air, suit of swords. Realm of angels, the nerd engineers, as the rabbi calls them. This is where the general idea from Braya gets detailed blueprints, the mental design, soul aspect, Ruach's the intellect.
And finally, our world.
Asaya, the material world. Final Hay, earth. Suit of disc pentacles. This is physical reality, the densest vibration of divine light where things actually manifest. Soul aspect. Nefesh, the animal soul, tied to the body.
The building analogy helps architects' idea, Etzalith Braya, engineers' plans, Yesera, construction crew building it, Asaya.
That's a good way to picture it. The descent of energy.
And you mentioned the four parts of the soul correspond directly to these worlds?
Yep, it's a neat parallel. Nefesh, animal soul in Asaya, material. Ruach, intellect in Yetzirah, formative. Neshama, soul intuition in Braya, creative. And Shaya, life force in Atziluth, archetypal.
And there's one more. Yachia.
Yachida is mentioned as the highest point, the essential spark of the divine within, links directly to the ultimate oneness above even Atziluth.
The rabbi's illustrations for these soul parts are memorable. The Kabbalistic autopsy.
Yes, very graphic. The severed head for the Ruach thought persisting. The snowy TV screen for Nishima, connection to something vast, maybe distorted. The fading dot on the screen for Chia returning to the source.
Definitely sticks in your mind.
That's the intention, I think. Make these abstract ideas visceral.
Okay, let's talk numbers. Holy numbers. What's the significance there?
The core idea, drawing from a story about Ezra, is that the divine is reflected in everything, including numbers. They aren't just quantities, they embody principles.
For which numbers are key?
1, obviously. The absolute unity, the source, the circle.
Then 2.
2 represents duality, reflection, the beginning of self-awareness, the one becoming aware of itself.
Ain't 3.
3 is the result of that interaction, the beginning of creation, the first manifestation. The text talks about this Trinity unit reflecting itself, creating another triad, showing a dynamic process.
What about 4?
4 is huge. The Tetragrammaton, YHVH, the 4 worlds, 4 soul parts, represents stability, structure, the manifested world.
10?
10 links to Yod, the first letter of YHVH, which also means hand. Represents completion of a cycle, fingers on both hands, our ability to act and create. All 10 Sephiroth on the tree.
And 22?
22 is the number of Hebrew letters, and also the number of paths on the tree of life. Represents the complete set of tools or pathways for creation and understanding.
Which leads us nicely to the tree of life itself. Can you give us the quick Chicken Qabalah version?
Okay, so 10 spheres, the Sephiroth, numbered emanations of the divine, connected to YHVH. They show how divinity unfolds into different qualities.
And those 22 paths connect them.
Right, and each path corresponds to one of the 22 Hebrew letters, so the letters are the energies flowing between the divine aspects, Sephiroth.
What about the abyss?
The abyss is described as a kind of gap or veil on the tree, separating the top 3 Sephiroth, the supernal triad, representing ultimate reality from the lower 7, which include our perceived reality.
So our reality is sort of less real in this model.
A reflection, yeah. The tree maps out both the divine structure and the pathways for consciousness to travel between these levels.
Okay, so how does Kabbalistic magic fit in, according to Ben Clifford? Is it about summoning spirits?
He does talk about a hierarchy, archangels, angels, intelligences, spirits associated with the tree. But the goal isn't just summoning for favors.
What is it then?
It's more about understanding and mastering the different energies within yourself that these entities represent, recognizing these forces so they don't just run wild in your subconscious.
So they aren't good or evil inherently.
No, more like neutral forces, like electricity, he suggests, can be used constructively or destructively. Imagination plays a big role too. They are real energies, but also shaped by our minds.
He uses an example about asking for water.
Yeah, a simple request setting off a whole chain reaction in the spiritual hierarchy. The main point is, to do effective magic, you need to find and work with the corresponding divine hierarchy inside you. Inner alignment is key.
Makes sense. Finally, the chicken tarot. How does this connect tarot to everything else?
It starts with the Fool card. In this view, the Fool represents that absolute nothing, the 0 point containing all potential.
So all the other cards come out of the Fool.
Yeah. Essentially, yes. All 78 cards are just different facets or unfoldings of that initial nothingness, everythingness.
Like creation from the void.
Exactly. Then you have the standard division, 22 major arcana trumps, 56 minor arcana cards, and 4 suits.
And the 22 trumps linked to the Hebrew letters.
Directly. Each trump embodies the energy of its corresponding Hebrew letter. Alafox connects to the Fool's primal energy, for example.
And these trumps have other associations. Planets, zodiac.
Yep. 12 trumps linked to the 12 zodiac signs, 7 trumps linked to the 7 classical planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, etc., which also connect to days of the week and metals, and 3 trumps linked to the 3 mother letters elements, air, water, fire. Earth is sort of the foundation they all rest on.
Okay, what about the minor arcana of the suits?
The 4 suits, wands, cups, swords, discs, tie directly back to the Tetragrammaton YHVH and the 4 world soul parts.
Can you run through those connections quickly?
Sure. Wands, Yod, Atziluth, archetypal, Chaya, life force, fire, cups, He, Braya, creative, Nishama, intuition, water, swords, avow, Yetzirah, formative, Ruach, intellect, air, Disc sinal hay, asaya material, nephesh, animal soul, earth. It's a really tight correspondence.
And the court cards, kings, queens, princes, princesses.
They represent subdivisions within the suits and also link to YHVH generally. King is fire of the suit, queen is water, prince is air, princess is earth. They also have astrological rulerships over sections of the zodiac showing mixed elemental influences.
What about the numbered cards, 2 through 10?
Those 36 cards link to the 36 decans of the zodiac 10-degree segments. Each decan has a planetary ruler determined by descending the tree of life.
And the princesses have a special role, the sleeping beauty thing.
Right. The princesses represent earth, the foundation, asaya, the nephesh. The analogy is that the princess, material world physical self, is asleep and needs to be awakened or redeemed by the prince king, higher consciousness, for the full potential of the kingdom, the self-universe, to be realized. It puts the material world in a crucial position.
That's a cool analogy. Okay, very quickly. Gematria, Notarikon, Temira. Sounds like advanced stuff.
They're techniques for finding hidden meanings in Hebrew words. Gematria is about numerical value. Words with the same number are connected, like the example of riches and loss having reverse letters and opposite meanings.
Finding patterns in numbers.
Right. Notarikon uses initials to form acronyms or expands letters into phrases. Temura is about rearranging letters in a word to find anagrams or related words.
What's the point of all that?
The text suggests it's less about finding the secret meaning and more about breaking your usual thought patterns, realizing how things connect in unexpected ways. It's a mental exercise to foster interconnected thinking.
And the last one? Qabalah of the 9 chambers.
Just a brief mention. It connects to magic squares, which are grids of numbers associated with the planets and the Sephiroth. Another layer of symbolic correspondence.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. That was quite the deep dive into the Chicken Qabalah.
It's a rich system, even in this somewhat unconventional presentation.
So if someone's listened through all this, what are the main takeaways? What should they walk away with?
I think first that this approach to Kabbalah is deliberately accessible and inclusive. You don't need special credentials. Second, it really encourages you to question literal interpretations and look for deeper symbolic meanings.
And the interconnectedness.
Absolutely. That everything, letters, numbers, worlds, soul parts, tarot, is part of one big interconnected system. And fundamentally that the you that you think you are, as the rabbi puts it, well, it's part of a much larger, stranger, more mysterious picture.
It definitely makes you think about your own place in, well, in everything. The nature of reality, consciousness.
For sure. And that leads us to a final thought for everyone listening. Given this emphasis in Chicken Qabalah on ultimate reality being nothing and our world being somewhat illusory, what's the real significance then of our individual choices, our actions, our experiences in this life?
If it's all illusion, does what we do matter? Or does it matter precisely because we are that sparkling image within the illusion?
That's the question to mull over, something to chew on from the Chicken Qabalah.
Indeed. Well, thank you for guiding us through that fascinating and sometimes quite funny exploration, and thank you all for joining us on this deep dive.